Welcome to another episode of Code Breakers, the podcast that empowers you to overcome life's challenges and tap into your full potential. I'm Sam, your host. This week, we're talking self-love, the importance of it, the pivotal role it plays in our lives, and our decisions to change, transform, and take the steps we need to embody the life we truly want to live. For this topic, I'm excited to welcome my lovely sister, Meagan. Hi, Meagan. It's so wonderful to have you here today. Before we jump into self-love, healing journey, all that wonderful stuff, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So, my name's Meagan. So I live in Washington, Eastern Washington, and live on a little 10-acre plot out here, trying to, kind of get into that agriculture, homesteady, a little bit of hippie vibes, out here. But yeah, I'm a mom now. I have a 2-year-old little girl. And it's crazy to me to think that I made this human 2 years ago, which is insane to me. But yeah, and then outside of that, in my day job, I am a talent acquisition advisor at a place called Ag West, where I love what I do. It's so much fun to bring people on and get their dream jobs, which is super fun, and be able to do that on a daily basis. But previously, before I did that, I worked at Amazon. And of course, above all else, I'm your sister.
Yes, exactly. No, this is so exciting. I'm so excited to chat with you today because we do, even though we didn't grow up together, we have so many similarities and our life paths have followed some similar directions.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be fun to talk about today and share some of our own lessons learned and get a new perspective, like your perspective on your healing journey and self-love. So I'm looking forward to that. And with homesteading, like what got you started with homesteading?
Well, okay, so kind of a little bit of a backstory is that I grew up in
Yeah.
Montana and on a cattle ranch out there, and kind of grew up around agriculture and just I don't know, I've always kind of enjoyed the simple life. Just
Yeah.
being able to, I don't know, go out and go outside and it's so quiet and I'm surrounded by trees and stuff, um, and just being able to make things that I know that are good for my body and good for my health and my wellness and my mind as well. So knowing that like what I'm putting into my body is so important to me, it always has been. And so now that my husband and we live on, this 10 acres, we're hopefully gonna, start a little bit of a farm or some sort of that way, I guess. And so, this homesteading journey has been really fun. I've been learning a lot. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
But it's just been fun experimenting and just trying new things and seeing like what works for our family, what doesn't work, what works for our bodies, everything. It's been just a fun learning journey, and just also just experimenting a lot of different things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, again, kind of like that simple life. It's just nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And simple ingredients, knowing what you're putting in your body. I think
Yeah.
that's such an important topic when it comes to self-love. And obviously, there's a balance to be had because we live in the world we do, like we have easy access to plenty of things. But what are some of the key changes you've made in your life to kind of start that journey?
Oh gosh. I don't even know where to start, to be honest, because I feel like it's been an accumulation of a lot of different things throughout this journey.
Yeah.
But I guess, so talking kind of the homesteading aspect of it, and then I can kind of go into more of like the spiritual and kind of the,
Yes, let's do it.
I guess, just kind of like whole mindset shift and everything afterwards. But yeah, so I think as far as kind of like homesteading and just like, again, fueling your body, giving it what it needs, vitamins and getting just healthy ingredients. And to your point, it's all about balance. I definitely still eat pizza and go get fries from McDonald's for my daughter. Like that's for sure a thing. But
Yeah.
I do also make sourdough bread every day or every week, and I make try to bake things at home. I have farm fresh eggs from my neighbor. We are so we farm fresh eggs all the time, which is amazing. By the
Love
way,
that.
100%. If you're not like, they are so much better, so much better.
So much better.
But then we're also gardening. Like I experimented a lot last year. It was full on more experimenting than anything because I didn't really have like the space to do anything yet. So I was just like, well, I had the space. I didn't really have like the setup, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I just used what I had. So I just had like a bunch of different pots and I just started like, I wanted to try all these different vegetables and fruits and stuff. So I was just like, I'll just try it. I didn't get a whole lot.
Oh.
Okay, listen, it wasn't a lot, but I did get a lot of zucchini, so that was good. But
Did you
yeah.
make zucchini bread or?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of zucchini bread.
Yeah. But my neighbor and I are actually, we're going to be doing a joint garden this year, and I'm so excited. And so, yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. And she's just like such a genius when it comes to like homesteading and just like, she makes her own vanilla, like bakes. I mean, it's just like,
What?
she
Oh
has
my gosh.
goats, she has chickens, all this stuff. She sews it. She's just like literally so brilliant with everything. And so I'm trying to like learn as much as I can from her. And so anyway, she was like, let's do a joint garden. And I'm like, yes, please. I need guidance. And plus, just like gardening, there's just so many different ways of doing things. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about that. So that is kind of
Love that so much.
yeah.
Because you're starting like so many homesteaders' dream. This idea of a community and a community garden and getting eggs from your neighbors. And like I feel like any homesteader I follow online, they're like, who's ready to go in on a community with me? And you're like getting a chance to start that. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's been really fun and definitely a learning experience. Like I said, I mean, I've just like,
Yeah.
it's nonstop learning, which I love. So I'm like all about it, but
Yeah.
um, it is a lot. It can be overwhelming at times for sure. But like in the end, I'm, I think we're setting ourselves up for success for kind of like the long run, and being able to hopefully one day be as self-sustainable as possible. And that's
Yeah.
the idea, right? That's the dream.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I love what you just said. Like, you're learning, it's not easy all the time, but it's so aligned to your values and your vision for what you guys want for your life that it's worth it, right? It makes
Mhm.
the learning process bearable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I've shared quite a bit about my healing journey on this podcast, and I'm super curious if you're willing to share and whatever you're willing to share, if you've gone through anything similar. And if that had anything to do with this vision that you've created for yourself.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the healing journey I think is constant, right? It's not it's one that I'm constantly working on and constantly trying to improve and better myself and my family. And um but it all starts, I think, just with little steps, right? And like
Yeah.
um I don't know. I could go on and on about this topic, and you and I have, of course, many
Yeah.
times. um,
Yes.
but I think it's just so important to just start little and to start small and give yourself these goals that are attainable and achievable instead
Yeah.
of being like, I guess 5 years ago or 6 years ago, me never would have imagined that this would be my life right now. Um,
Yeah.
but to get where I'm at or to get here now, it took small steps and it took little consistent um, things that I do throughout my day and have been and have like and do constantly. Which
Yeah.
little things that I do constantly are, like when I wake up in the morning, I express gratitude. We've talked about that
Yeah.
so much before, and gratitude is something that I think is um, we don't have enough of it. And instead of waking up and immediately checking Facebook or Instagram or any social media, instead of doing that, just being thankful and grateful for
Yeah.
just waking up and being alive. I think those are,
Right? The simple things. The simple
the
things.
simple things.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
those are, that was something that kind of really helped me shift my mindset a lot into
Gratitude.
that gratitude.
Yeah.
And then just like little subliminal like messaging throughout your day, like
Yeah.
that's a real thing, like they've used those tactics for advertisement, and it's just like it's the way our bodies, like we see these little messages throughout our days, and it's like, would you rather see negative stuff or would you rather see positive? And
Yeah.
adding those little tiny things into your life, like as simple as like on my phone I have my apps organized into different like categories. Like how you have the like
Are
banking
they
or
affirmations?
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But instead of labeling it as like work, I'm like, I'm successful. Or
Yeah.
for my banking apps, it's like I'm rich, or those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yes,
It's like,
exactly. But it's so important because you're absolutely right. It's been done in advertising for a reason. Subliminal messaging works because we operate, I think it's something like 90+% of the time from our subconscious mind.
yeah.
And so by waking up in the morning and choosing gratitude immediately, you're activating like that part of your brain. I believe it's called the reticular activation system or something to that effect. RAS.
Mhm.
You're literally activating that part of your brain to look out for more things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important because you mentioned mindset work being a really critical part of your journey, like 100% same. That's where I had to start. And this is the hard part, right? Like your subconscious mind has been telling you for years one thing. And once you make that choice to look at life a little bit differently, it takes work to stay in that mindset, in that belief. Only at the beginning, eventually it gets to a point where that's like, I'm sure at one point when you started your morning gratitude journey, like it took effort to start your day like that. But now it's just part of who you are. It's how you start every day. Do you do morning pages too, like setting intentions and kind of just shadow journaling or anything like that?
I haven't gotten into shadow journaling fully, I guess. I've done little bits of work here and there. But
Yeah.
instead of writing my intentions down, I just say them aloud. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, but I mean, it just depends, I guess. There have been days where I'll make notes in my phone and do that. I wish
Yeah.
I was more I wish I was better about like journaling, to be honest. I'm trying. But again, it's just one of those things like maybe one day it'll become more of a natural thing, like setting intentions and
Yeah.
gratitude and stuff like that have been now just more of a normalcy in my life than it
Yeah.
is more of a challenge. But to your point, just as much as you said, is like it's a practice. It's a practice. It's just as much as
Yes.
like you just can't go from sitting on a couch to running a marathon. I mean, you probably could. It would just hurt a lot. Um, but it's the same thing. It's work. It's mind work. It's shifting what you think was and should be, and what we've been taught our entire lives, to this new weird aspect that's it's foreign, it's different,
It's
and
for
it's going to be
Yeah.
so it's hard. It's an adjustment, and it's difficult at first, absolutely. But the more you practice and the more you do it, the better and more and just easier it gets throughout your day and
Yeah.
throughout your
With time.
hmm
With time for sure. And give yourself the grace to like learn to implement new habits. What other advice would you give to folks like maybe just starting out or thinking about going down a similar path, but maybe they're hesitant because we're talking about like the reality of it. Like we're definitely not trying to sugarcoat it and oh, do this work, it'll unlock your dream life, like that's so true, but not necessarily the message I'm trying to drive. And realizing the reality of this does require effort, this does require work, can deter some people. What would you tell them?
Well, exactly what you said, giving yourself grace. But that also comes with practice as well and mindset shift. A lot of people don't give themselves that grace, right? So if you're not
Or
able to,
even know how.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if
Like
you're not
how do
able
you do that?
I I can't even tell you how. Like it just like I think it just comes with practice. And I think it's
Does
just
it?
talking to yourself nicely. Um
Yeah.
which is
Which
so
is so I was just gonna say the same thing. But also it aligns so much to the idea of self-love, right? Which is the whole other topic we wanted to get into today. So like maybe part of grace comes from, recognizing that you're a human being who's learning and evolving and growing.
yeah.
Um, what do you
And also
think?
like the other thing with that is I guess it's not gonna happen overnight, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just like a magical spell that all of a sudden you're just like a subject matter expert at meditation and manifestation. Like that's not how that works. And
Yeah.
it will take time, it takes practice, it takes consistency. It's never gonna be like magically I'm all of a sudden a guru healer.
Yeah.
I want to be. That'd be great. That's my goal. I would love
I
to
love it.
do this, um,
Yeah.
but I'm still learning. I'm still growing, and I think that's another, thing to keep in mind is like, I don't think anyone that has been on this journey of healing and self love and just that growth mindset has ever gotten to a point where they're like, "This is it. I'm an expert
I'm
now, and
done now. Yeah.
you
It's
know."
almost like opposite for me. Like if I meet people
Yeah,
who are like, I heal people for a living. I don't need X, Y, and Z, or I don't need your advice. I'm just like, oh my God, walking red flag.
100%.
Because it is like healing growth, like life in general, probably is really just about continuing to kind of evolve and get closer and closer and closer to your true self, in my opinion. So maybe
Absolutely.
this is a good time to talk about kind of some of the spiritual stuff that brought you to homesteading, or maybe helped you through your own healing journey.
Yeah. Um, well, there's a
Where
lot
to
on
start?
spirituality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. Well, I think a couple of things like we've talked about is a lot about learning, right? And a lot about researching. And I think that's so important. And you know, something that was vital for me in this process is reading different books, listening to different
Yeah.
podcasts, listening to um audiobooks on my way to work, like little things like that, just to make sure that I'm, I guess, learning and trying to grow and expand my brain. I,
And,
um,
and expand your perspective too,
yes,
because like you're going all over the place. You're not keeping yourself limited to one specific thought or philosophy perspective. You're exploring and expanding. That's such a perfect way to describe it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And with spirituality, I think, whether you believe in God or multiple gods or source energy or Christ consciousness or whatever it is that you believe, or maybe it's all of the above. And honestly, I'm
Yeah.
not like, maybe it is. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the most important thing about the spirituality aspect is that um, no matter what it is, you believe that you're capable of doing it. And that
Yeah.
you have that. It's not just a thought in your mind, like maybe this could happen. It's a no, this is going to happen. And I truly believe it and feel it deeply in my soul and feel like this will
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Then it will and it will come to fruition if you think it and believe it and truly feel that it will happen. It will
Yeah.
happen. And
Well,
I
you're
think,
so right
yeah,
too. Because it's been said in many different religious texts, many different philosophers, like agnostic of religion, have said the same thing. And
yeah,
so really what I hear you saying is like figure out what your faith is, but believe in it fully.
yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter what too, like I think um just being able to trust yourself too. I think there's a lot of times where, I've done meditations and manifestation meditations and like all these things.
Yeah.
And I think like what ultimately comes down to it is when you think of it in your brain, do you actually think and believe and feel that it's going to happen? Or
Like
do
in
you just
your
like,
body. Yeah.
yeah, or are you on the latter part where that's where I was a long time ago, was it was more like a thought. It was just like it could potentially happen, but how would I get there? And how would this happen? And then I start instinctively just start questioning it and being like,
Yeah.
this couldn't happen. Whereas now I'm like, why not? You know, like
Yeah.
why not? Why can't
Yeah.
it happen?
Exactly. Exactly. And I feel like for me personally, faith plays a huge part in that, obviously, like in that believing, in that knowing that things are possible that are
Yes.
outside of our understanding. But I think self-love also probably plays a big role in feeling like you're worthy of the things you want to manifest. And I went to a conference last week. This is so funny because I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but it feels so aligned because in that conference, speaker after speaker after speaker, although I didn't have any intention or any awareness that any of these folks had Christianity as kind of their faith base, but they all talked about in the context of worthiness and feeling worthy, trying to give people advice on how to feel the same thing. But all of their advice really came down to, I know I'm worthy because my creator made me so. And I walked away from that wondering, like, but what about the folks who don't have that same faith or don't have faith that they're that confident in either? And what would their advice be to those folks? And I walked away from that feeling like if you can't get that from an outside source, then the next best thing you can do is provide it to yourself. I don't know what you think about that, but that seems like self-love to me.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Um, absolutely. And to be honest, like, I mean, I, it just, it really goes back and forth with your faith and with my faith, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like, I truly don't know what I believe in, but I do believe in myself. And I know that
Yeah.
this world has created, and it's how whoever created it, or did I create it? I have no idea. Like literally no
Yeah.
idea. But no
Right.
matter what, all I know is like we are living in this moment, and um at the end of the day, if you want something or want to achieve something, or feel like you're destined to do something, we need to start taking little tiny actions to make that happen. And if
Yes.
that's just a tiny bit of trust in yourself, or a little bit of like self-love and self-talk, and like you said, like just being like nicer to yourself, like I think that's ultimately what should be the beginning of it. Is I think that's where my mindset started shifting a lot, is when I started thinking, would I actually say this to anybody else out loud?
Oh,
Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like when I
Yeah.
wake up in the morning and being like, "Ugh, I look kind of fat today," or,
Yeah.
or that was a bad idea, or like, or just making poor decisions. And obviously being able to do that in a good way is obviously good. But like
Yeah.
instead of being like, oh, I just ate, 3 chocolates, that was terrible, or I didn't get this promotion because I sucked at blah blah blah. That
Yeah.
negative self-talk, started realizing that I'm like, why would I say this to myself if I would never actually say that to a friend of mine, or like a close, like my sister or anybody? I would never sit there and be like, wow, you're so fat. So why would I
Yeah.
do that to myself? Like,
Why would you say that to yourself?
yeah. And so
Yeah.
I think that was like a really pivotal moment in my growth mindset, and just my mindset in general was just being like, wow, I need to be nicer. Like, I need to be nicer to myself and
Yeah.
remember that I am worthy, and I am, um like, I can do whatever I want to do, and I have the capability of doing it. It's just I need to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what you said is so important too. Like, you don't know exactly what you believe in, but there's a level of faith there. And then if we go back to kind of the beginning of the conversation with your perspective, starting with gratitude and how our subconscious mind works, I think there's
Well,
some truth to the statement that like we create our own reality.
Yeah.
And so getting to the point where you can talk to yourself positively, you can have a level of faith in yourself, even if you have faith in nothing else, makes such a massive difference in the process of building self-love, and then being able to build the life that you want out of that.
Yeah.
For me, I wasn't able to kind of tap into that really kind inner voice until I went through the stellate ganglion block procedure, which
Oh yeah.
like that is that's a pretty it's not a super in-depth procedure, but like it's a medical procedure, right? And not everyone's going to want to go down that path. But for
Right.
me, I felt like I had done years of kind of trying to like switch that mindset. And then once I went through the SGB, it was just like a switch went off in my brain, and all of a sudden all these highways of like nice, kind inner voice were available all of a sudden that weren't there. How do you think you were able to finally make that shift and start tapping into that kinder inner voice?
Yeah. Gosh, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I didn't
You
know
didn't?
that. No, I mean, I knew that it was
Do you
such a
want me to,
what?
yeah. Do you want me to tell you just a little bit more? Because it was pretty profound.
I knew that the procedure was so important, and like obviously it was huge with PTSD and
Yeah.
your nervous. Was it the central nervous system where your for
Yeah.
was
I don't know the
all of the
differentiation in the procedure. Yeah, but it's basically that's the best way to think about it is this procedure kind of like power on and off for my nervous system and goes through kind of a hard reset, if you
yeah.
will. Yeah. So I think it was my second or third procedure that I did. And one day I was just standing in the kitchen, like doing something. And all of a sudden, that inner voice that comes in and like tells me how terrible I am, right behind that was a voice that I really had never heard before. And it was so much softer and so much kinder. And she was just like, no, we're not doing that. And it just really pushed this like icky voice that I really grew up like hearing all the time, and that I struggled with so much, especially during my 20s. It was the first time I had ever heard that voice. And it was like, for me, that moment, I'm going to cry. Sorry, I'm going to try not to cry.
I know. I'm
For
like,
me,
man,
that
I'm
moment,
getting it.
because that moment was, I think the first time that I felt like, okay, this must be what it's like to feel a mother's love. Um, yeah, and I don't know that I felt like I knew what that was before that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I know that like that must have been so hard, and but like what a cool story though, like to be able to be
Yeah.
like I felt this like comforting, like loving talk to myself for the first time. Like that must have been so crazy.
Yeah, that's really probably the best way to describe it. It was,
How did you react when you first like
I started crying
yeah.
because it was like, and I'm getting goosebumps right now and chills right now because it was a love that I never knew before that moment. And I was 31, 32, maybe like 30 at least. I was in my early
Yeah.
30s. Um, and I've shared before on my podcast that like my inner voice has been probably my biggest struggle with my PTSD. Um, and so that moment was the moment that I probably felt for one of the first times that I wasn't going to have to live this way forever and that healing was possible and joy was possible. And I think before that, I wasn't sure that there was ever going to be that moment. Um, so I think I was just completely elated and like overwhelmed. And I remember just journaling about it and telling my therapist and telling Paul. And I mean, even now, there's still a lot of emotion around it because it was such a profound moment in my healing journey to finally tap into that part of myself that knew what love felt like. And that's where I feel like I was able to finally experience not only a mother's love, but self-love for the first time. And it completely changed everything for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, that's just like that's so huge and like just such a just a big impact in your life.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything that it was like truly a pivotal moment like that when I started, I guess, healing and being nicer to myself. Um, but I think it's just honestly like I've said, is just like an accumulation of all the things that I've been doing and doing it consistently over time. But I will say, like, one of the mantras that I've taken away from a very, very long time ago. Like, I think I started saying this mantra like daily in, I think it was like 2017, a very long time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
time in, I guess,
Comparatively.
comparatively. um, and I didn't say it all the time, but like now it's just definitely, it's just one of those things. As soon as I see it, I'm like, yep, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
It's a the mantra is I am love and I give love, and
Oh, I love that.
I have that as my alarm clock like description when I wake up in the morning. I say it as much as I
What a
possibly.
good idea.
Yeah. So like just
It's the
those
first
little.
thing you see in the
Yep.
morning.
Yep.
Like, get into that reticular activating system again.
Exactly. See, and it's all about
Yeah.
that, just those little things that you can do on a daily basis that may seem so silly, but they make
Yeah.
such a big impact over time. And like I said, I started doing that. I started saying that mantra when I was doing yoga, because I started doing yoga around that time. And I was like having a hard time quieting my brain during yoga or meditation or anything. And I still struggle with that,
Yeah.
to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
but reminding myself like the purpose of when I'm trying to quiet my brain and trying to get into a space of like healing and love is that I am love and I do give love, and that's my purpose. Like I know that my purpose in life is to like spread love and kindness, and I don't know how
Yeah.
that like what that plays out to be, but I know that that is what I'm meant to do
Yeah.
now. And that's taken so long, but again, like I think it's just a part of, it becomes a part of your daily routine and your just every day looking at, I don't know, like it's so stupid and so silly, but being able to look at the clouds and be like, oh, like look at
That's
these different
awareness.
shapes,
Yeah.
or yeah,
Yeah.
and just waking up and again expressing that gratitude, just being so thankful and grateful that we're here and we're experiencing this, and not a not a I have to do this, but instead shifting your mindset to I get to do
I
this.
get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I also, no, go ahead.
oh, I
Go
was just
ahead.
gonna say, I just think that those little things that like again may seem a little silly, but like they just add up to just feeling happier and just feeling more
More
whole.
aligned,
Yeah.
more
And like your
whole.
heart
Yes.
is like happier and
Yes.
softer
Yeah.
and softer. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is having a hard heart. And
Yeah.
that's something that I used to pray about a lot too. And I know we talked about a little like faith and stuff. And of course, I believe
Yeah.
in God. I believe in myself. I
Yeah.
believe in spirit. I believe in Christ consciousness. I believe
Same.
in all the things, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
um, no matter what, like I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful. And those are the things that I say when I'm praying too, is, thank you for today. Thank you for this day. Thank you for,
Yeah.
letting us love with our whole hearts and being kind to one another and just experiencing
Yeah.
life. Um, and it's just those little things that really like matter throughout the day, right? Instead of,
Yeah.
I'll give an example, like being a mom now. Obviously we have some rough nights.
Yeah.
There's hard days, and but I think some advice that I heard was like the days go by slow, but the years go by fast. And I was like, yep,
Yeah.
that's
So true.
exactly true. And so when there's nights when I'm like, rocking her for spend 30 minutes or whatever, an
Yeah.
hour, and instead of feeling like, oh, this is so annoying, or, I have things to do, or, the whole laundry list of things that go through your mind when you're like, this is not my plan. Um,
Yeah.
Instead of being mad about it and being upset, I'm like, I have to, like, and I still have to do this. It's again, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
It's not just like it happens overnight, but I still have to
Yep.
remind myself, like, I get to rock my daughter right now. I get to do this. She loves me so much that she needs me in this moment right now. And this could be the last time that I get to rock her,
Yeah.
or like just reminding yourself, like, again, you get to do this and you
Yeah.
have that love and you have that. So it's okay.
Yeah.
And to give yourself grace.
Exactly. Exactly. Give yourself grace. And something that you said that just I love so much because it simplifies the idea of purpose. To love and be loved is your purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I hope I'm getting that correct. But what a simple way to distill like meaning into your life and be able to feel fulfilled in any capacity by just showing up that way with knowing that that's your purpose. And it just, to me, it seems like that is so, that makes this big elusive idea of what's my purpose, which I feel like so many people are asking today, and simplifies it down to this is my purpose in this moment, in this time, and this is how I show up on a daily basis. And how I show up on a daily basis is my purpose.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that so much.
Because
And go
because
ahead.
that's what
Go
you
ahead.
have control over, right? And like I think
Yeah.
that's such a big piece, like, to when I discuss, like, when I was like finally, because I was always like that, like, what's my purpose, what am I supposed to be doing? and and to be fair, I think everybody has that question, and
Yeah.
I still, like,
Yeah.
I there are days that I still think that, of course, but I think ultimately I got down to a point where I was like, what fills my cup? What makes
Yeah.
me happy? And what makes me happy is making an effort in someone's life and being there and giving love and kindness and showing that. And if I can
Yeah.
do that and it helps them and makes me happy, it's a double win. And it's like I think that's ultimately like my goal on a daily basis is just
Yeah.
to spread kindness.
But you're also, like, in a lot of ways, really making it really simple to change the world too. Because imagine if we all just kind of showed up in our inner circles, living our purpose in the way that is to love and be loved, or to be kind, and seeing that as our purpose rather than something related to, all the other stuff. Like, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be this, like all the materialistic stuff. What a beautiful way to help change the world by just showing up on a daily basis with such a beautiful mindset.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of work and a lot of healing. And
Yeah.
um and I think like whoever listens to this and whoever, hopefully has made it this far and like in listening and paying attention, it's just I think at the end of the day it's just small tiny steps, and it's like even if you mess up, oh well, like it's not the end of
Yeah.
the day. It's not gonna, it's okay to have those little mishaps, or like I get frustrated. I still get frustrated, but then I'll sit myself down and I'll be like, wow, that was a little excessive, Megan. You need to come back a little bit. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. But
and
to your point, the little steps, I think a way to make that less intimidating, perhaps too, is that it's just about addition. It doesn't have to be about subtraction. Because when you're trying to change in some way, if you continue to kind of focus on, I should give up X, Y, and Z rather than I should add X, Y, and Z, you're still stuck in the past. Yeah.
yep,
So just start taking the little tips that you've shared today and pick one
yeah,
to like run with, or find one tip that you've enjoyed somewhere or kind of resonated with, and just start adding that to your life. And pretty soon, like you said, over time, these little things really add up and you find yourself starting to live the life of your dreams.
yes. I love that you added that onto there because that is such a key aspect. Like you said, I think a lot of people are so used to, oh, well, I'm going on a diet and I'm going to eliminate X, Y, and Z, or, I'm doing so and so and I need to eliminate this. Um, I 100% agree with you. It's all about adding and
Yeah.
trying, just trying. Like, I
Yeah.
think, um, Dr. Gary Brecka, he's like one of my all-time favorite health guru peoples to follow.
Okay.
I don't know if you watched him at all, but
I
he goes,
haven't yet.
he's gone on like Joe Rogan podcasts and stuff. He's just incredibly smart, and especially with I think with everything that we've been talking about today, but
Okay.
specifically for the physical, for your physical body.
Mhm.
But little things like even just getting up and letting the sun soak in on your skin
Yeah.
and getting that vitamin D right as soon as you wake up. Or going outside and going for a walk as soon as you get up in the morning. It'll help, basically start your whole system in a positive way. And then additionally, getting that sunshine or just breathing, just doing breathing exercises.
They're so effective.
Those are three highly effective things that we can be doing on a daily basis that are just adding to our routine. And it's not much
Perfect.
and it's so small, but those little things make huge impacts. And
Yeah.
I've started
Like,
implementing those and I truly do see a big difference. I didn't think
yeah,
I would,
absolutely.
honestly.
Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And an idea came to mind, like if those are three things you want to implement, add them on your phone under your alarms and name them something that you want to believe about yourself.
Yep.
And then do those and start adding. Is there, okay, on the topic of self-love, the topic of living your best life, homesteading, everything that we've talked about today, is there anything that you think would be particularly helpful for folks to know or remember that we haven't had a chance to talk about?
Um, I know we talked about a lot, and I know that we honestly I could probably talk to you about this for like 7 years.
We'll do another episode.
But something that I think is really important to myself now is, we've talked about grace and giving,
Yeah,
giving yourself grace all the time and just um, being nice to yourself, right? But I think one thing that is really, really important to me is like if I have a setback or if I have a day where I'm not 100% feeling great, right? Like, or I just I'm feeling some way that I don't know why or how or I feel heavy, right? Or something like
yeah,
that. Um
yeah,
or maybe I had a crap day at work or like everything is dropping and I'm tripping over everything at home or whatever, all these things
yeah,
I'm getting frustrated.
yeah. Life happens, right?
Yeah, yes. I think the most important thing is to remember like it's okay. Like it is okay that if you instead of focusing on mind work in that moment be upset and be mad
Yeah,
and have feelings and like maybe grab a glass of wine instead of meditating. Like it is
yeah,
okay to have those moments and to be human and to experience that. You don't have to
mhm,
be this health guru
yeah,
100% I am amazing at my mind all the time. You know what I mean? Like I
right.
think it's just
Yeah,
so important to remember like we are human. This is a human experience
yeah,
um, and as kind as you should be to yourself, it's okay to not be if you have a moment of weakness. Just get
yeah,
back on track as soon as you start feeling like you
yeah,
can, you know?
yeah. You give yourself the time and space to feel the realities of life rather than suppressing it,
Yep.
because otherwise it carries on and it lingers. If you give yourself that day or two or whatever you need, you can move on a lot faster, I feel like, in my experience, for sure. But if I try to just carry on, eventually those things just compound and become heavier and heavier and heavier. And that's not sustainable. So, absolutely, like give yourself the time and space to acknowledge and feel and be a real human being rather than a perfect human being,
Yes.
because
Exactly.
perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah. I I mean I truly don't think so.
No, definitely not. And how boring would life be if it was just good all the time?
I know, for real, actually.
Yeah, I don't think we would have the perspective of the gratitude that we have when the good times come around if we didn't also experience not great times.
Well, and I think, yeah, exactly. Like, and not only that, but you get to realize your worth a little bit more when you go through those moments, you know? I mean, like
Ooh.
we both have gone through some really, really terrible times in our lives. And
Yeah.
I think, um, we talk about it a lot, but I am so incredibly proud of you and proud of where you are today compared to what could have been. And that's all work to you because you made it happen, right? Um, and
That's funny.
huh?
I said that's funny. I was talking about this whole topic this week with one of my coaches, and it was all really about like believing that I've gotten where I am today because of the work I've put in, not because of anything else. And it probably sounds really weird to hear me say that because it's like, what help, I guess, did you get? But yeah, I think it's tough for me to believe that sometimes. It's also tough for me to show kind of the messy parts behind the scenes because I have tried to put such a perfect persona out front, but that's why I kind of started this podcast and this whole
Right.
content creation journey. It started as part of my healing process, honestly. So it's probably been the only thing in my life that I've been willing to approach imperfectly, and it's been a learning journey. It's been a process, and I'm excited to see what comes from the other side of it. But there have been moments where I have absolutely been like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Who do you think you are? And does anybody even give a shit about your story? But I love what you said earlier because right now it just feels like my purpose is just show up and just share. And if that helps just one person, then that makes it entirely worth it. And I've already, had multiple folks reach out and say, hey, thanks so much for talking about this.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's confirmation there. Yeah, absolutely. But I love everything you've shared today about the realities of it because it's so important to me too that like, yes, healing is possible and the exciting stuff on the other side is possible. And I want to promote that as much as I can. But I also want to give folks realistic expectations about what it looks like.
Well, and I think that's so important because if we didn't and just sat here and said, "Oh, manifest and meditate and beautiful rainbows and sunshines and happiness all the time,"
Yeah.
when someone went to go practice that and it wasn't that way, then they just give up. They'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
screw this didn't work." Like that's
Yeah.
I think that's where it's so important is again like what we've talked about right in the beginning is like it's a never ending journey. It's constant. It's you have to
Yeah.
put the work in all the time. It does get easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely gets easier. But it's a lot of work. And um I did want to circle back though and talk about that part
Yeah.
you said that you're like this is the first time that you're doing something where you feel like it's imperfect, and like stepping out of
Yeah.
your comfort zone. And I just love that so much because um I think as a human being we're so against change and against the unknown. And we've talked about the unknown. I don't even know how many times.
Yeah.
But the unknown is scary and it's terrifying, right? And it's stepping out and doing things that are abnormal or out of your comfort zone, but also out of your environment, which is also
Yeah.
scary. But I think we wouldn't be here if we hadn't been doing that earlier on in even our childhood.
Yeah.
Being able
Absolutely.
to take those risks and those chances and um, step into the unknown and be terrified and scared and
Do it
be
anyway.
in a really uncomfortable situation. It's just like I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, like we have to take those steps and you're gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be scary. But
Yeah.
if you're doing it with the right intentions and you're trying to better yourself, I think that's at the end of the day is going to like change your entire world. you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. Like even going back to our childhood, 20s, there are, to your point, small choices and small steps that we took that have led us to where we are today. And I
Mhm.
think that goes back to the point you were making earlier. Just start where you are and make one small step in the direction that you want to head.
Yes. Yep.
Exactly. Well, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Before we end today, should I send folks to an Instagram page or anything like that to follow, to keep up with you?
Yeah, so just a little caveat is this is all brand new to me, this whole sharing on social media
Perfect.
and stuff. So I'm learning and growing myself. But yeah, I'm hoping, I think at the like we've talked about, I want to do this. I want
Yeah.
to, help people, and I guess
Yeah.
also like not only just like spiritually, mentally, health, body, all of that. Um but just like looking at things differently and then creating things, so
Yeah.
like showing my homestead journey and stuff too. So um I have an Instagram, it's called homestead hippie 444, because of course angel numbers. But yeah, that's it, and it's very small. I will be adding things along the way, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping to eventually get my shit together and put like kind of put little like kind of organize it a little bit, so then there's like mind, body, spirit,
Yeah.
and then like homesteading and like goats
Yeah.
and stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see what you do with this journey. It's going to be so much fun.
Me too. Yes. And thank you so much for
Yeah.
this. I think we don't get a chance to talk about this kind of stuff all the time, because then we go into
Yeah.
personal stuff, of course, because we're sisters.
Yeah.
I love that we could just sit here and talk about this stuff for hours and hours and hours. And just the fact that we didn't really know each other, when we were
No, it's
kids.
so
And
wild.
then
Yeah.
we, I don't, that was insane, because I felt like when we first met each other, it was like
Yeah.
literally soul sisters.
Meeting the same people. It's like, oh, hi, I know you entirely.
Like your
Yes.
entire being. I know it. I know it. Yep.
Yes. It was so like undescribable for me too. Like I just remember us laughing over our laughs being the same and like all kinds of things. But
Yes.
I want to leave you with one last thing if I can.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Every time you've talked about this new journey you're taking with homesteading or helping people, you're prefacing it with I hope or I'm hoping.
Oh my
So
gosh, you're
remove
right.
that.
You're
Remove
so
that. You
right.
are. And you already bring such love and light to the world. So you are already doing this.
Thank you. And you're so right. Thank you for calling me out on my shit there. I've been
Anytime.
talking about how we need to shift our mindset, and here I am hoping and praying instead of doing. I will do it.
Yes.
Thank you. And this is why we practice, and we're not perfect.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you. Okay, we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend or leave a review. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll see you next week.